Namaste. I want to say this clearly before I begin. I'm doing this long-ass video very intentionally because I don't want to keep making these videos. I don't want to keep responding to chaos, responding to outrage and panic, to fear and anger. My work and what I genuinely want to share with the world is Vedic wisdom, not chaos commentary. But right now, people are hurting. They are confused. They're angry. They feel trapped inside a political and international mess that feels cruel, dark, and seems to be accelerating. And I felt it too. But let me tell you honestly, I understand the anger. I understand why people feel that cruelty is escalating. I understand why people feel that if something is not stopped now, it may be too late. And I felt that same pressure, that same moral panic, that same urgency. And like many of you, I also wanted clarity. I didn't want to hear random opinions or watch outrage on social media. I didn't want to play political tribalism. I wanted to understand what is actually happening beneath the surface. So instead of reacting louder, I stepped back and I went deep. I turned to Vedic astrology, Vedic wisdom, and specifically Vedic astrology applied to civilizations, not just individuals, because Vedic astrology does not listen to outrage or listen to headlines. Vedic astrology operates on cycles. Vedic astrology does not follow who is right, who is evil, or who should win. It looks for planetary placement that answers questions. Questions like, what phase of consciousness is humanity in right now? What karmic lessons are active right now? And how do civilizations behave under pressure? And of course, why do authoritarian tendencies emerge now? Why does fear amplify? Why does anger feel justified and yet still fail historically? And what I discovered surprised me. So if you stick with me, I will share what Vedic astrology reveals about countries: America, Europe, Israel, China, Russia, and India. From now, 2026 to 2032. What's in store for these countries? And then I'll share what Vedic Dharma tells ordinary people should do during these years. The best way, according to dharmic wisdom, for us ordinary people to behave. But you have to listen to the end. And please forgive me if this video is too long-winded, and some of what I'm about to share will sound uncomfortable. Some people will think that this is passive, or this is just spiritual bypassing. You may even think that this is letting evil win. And I understand why it sounds that way. The Vedic wisdom is not naive. It's not passive. It's not afraid of darkness, because it has outlived chaos for thousands of years. The Vedic civilization was rooted in Indus Valley area, and it lasted unbroken for over 2,000 years. And I know you may not have much knowledge about Vedic civilization if you're schooled here in the West. And it's done purposely, not elaborated in textbooks and schools, giving more importance to Egyptian, Greek, and Roman civilizations, which was cruel, predatory civilizations. The Vedic civilization is not without cruelty. It's not without injustice. And it was not without wars. It had all of that and lasted continuously for over 2,000 years. The Vedic civilization was organized around a principle called dharma, inner restraint, moral proposition, self-governance, and dharma was organized around disciplined minds. When those values declined, and when desire overtook insight, when stimulation overtook wisdom, that is what the tradition calls the descent into Kali Yuga, Dark Ages. And according to the Mahabharata, Lord Krishna warned humanity before leaving at the end of Dwapara Yuga. He warned us in Bhagavad Purana that truth would be buried under noise, that fear would replace wisdom, and anger would masquerade as righteousness. He warned us that people would destroy what they were trying to protect. That wasn't mythological prophecy, like the Abrahamic faith wants you to believe. It was real wisdom. Okay, now let's get into the Vedic astrology of countries. Across nations, the dominant influence right now is the planet Saturn combined with Rahu. In simple terms, Saturn equals pressure, restriction, accountability, and collapse of illusion. And Rahu is obsession, fear amplification, misinformation, extremism, urgency. And together they create periods where people feel trapped. Systems feel oppressive, where morality compass and where anger feels justified. And when this happens, humans become emotionally predictable. Now, this is not unique to one country. It's a global happening. Now, let's go country by country. What does Vedic astrology say between 2026 and 2032. America first. America is in a Saturn reckoning cycle. This is not about one leader or one administration. It's about the collapse of externalized freedom. Externalized freedom means freedom that comes from doing external activities. Internal freedom means freedom that we experience within ourselves. America already learned the lesson of external freedom. Now, it is learning the lesson of responsibility. And from 2026 to 2029, pressure intensifies. Control by small number of elites versus resistance by the people. Identity conflicts, moral panic, and yes, fear narratives until 2029. And from 2030 to 2032, restructuring begins. America will survive, but it does not remain the same psychologically. Next, Europe. Europe shows Saturn and Ketu influence. That means fragmentation, exhaustion, loss of identity. And Europe moves from a global driver to a civilizational elder. Now, Israel. Israel shows Mars-driven survival cycles with perpetual high alert, always in defensive urgency, existential pressure, not disappearance, but constant tension. Now, look at China. Astrologically, China reflects Saturn-Mars discipline during these years. Long planning, systematic control, slow expansion. China's danger is rigidity, not chaos, until 2032. Now, Russia. Russia shows Mars-Saturn endurance, meaning hardship, isolation, survival identity, not collapse, but long contraction. Now, India. India is in a Jupiter-Saturn transition, which means slow rise, cultural influence. Not an empire, but civilization. But let's talk about wars. Vedic astrology does not show a single world war like World War II. It shows a prolonged instability, proxy conflicts, economic warfare, psychological warfare, fragmented tension. Now let's be honest. If you define war as a planet-wide pressure, we are already in it right now. Now I want to pause here for a minute, because when we talk about cruelty, we almost always mean human cruelty. But the planet is not just human. This planet contains millions of life forms, and hundreds of them are sentient beings. And to the planet and to the universe, all sentient beings matters too. Let me give you one scenario. You see, there are over 14,000 McDonald's locations just in the United States. This corporation produces over 6.5 million burgers per day. They themselves claim to go through over 7 million cows every single day. 7 million. And that doesn't even include the chickens and other animals. Pause for a minute and feel that. We quietly consume this. We normalize it. We barely think about it. But when our lifestyle is disturbed, when our comfort is challenged, we call it cruelty. I'm not saying we shouldn't eat. I'm not moralizing diets. I'm asking something deeper. How unconsciously are we living? And what cost do other sentient beings pay for it? These are dark times, not only for humans, but for countless other lives. And as my grandfather used to say, that this too is Kali Yuga. Now let's talk about the illusion of violent cleanup, like protests and arguments, etc. Yes, history shows that evil can be removed by violence. But Vedic wisdom asks a deeper question. What comes next? Because revolutions born of rage rarely install wisdom after it. They install weak leadership. And weak leadership invites worse forces. And I was wondering why the Saturn testing phase is lasting this long, until 2030 to 2032. Those years are not resolution. They are reconstructing period. By 2035, the world will be unrecognizable for the better. Politically, economically, technologically, psychologically. That's the thing about Saturn. Saturn does not rush maturity. Now, I want to touch on something very important, because I'm not saying people should be quiet and wait. I'm not saying people shouldn't protest. And I'm definitely not saying that people should not resist cruelty. What I'm saying is this: mass action only works when it's directed towards what actually matters. And this is where many movements fail. Violent protests, riots, destruction of property, or anything that creates fear and instability. These do not weaken the regime. They give the regime exactly what it needs. They justify crackdowns. They justify emergency powers. They push undecided people toward order over justice. They allow cruelty to be framed as necessary. History is very clear on this. Every regime becomes stronger when opposition becomes chaotic. This is not moral judgment. This is power mechanics. What actually works and works fast and more difficult for people who are used to comfort and convenience. Here's what I mean. You see, there are only two forms of mass action that consistently work. Actions that hit the wallet. Actions that destroy legitimacy. Everything else is just noise. Corporations, industrialists, and power brokers do not respond to outrage. They respond to falling revenues. They respond to canceled subscriptions. They respond to disrupted cash flow, shareholder pressure. Let me give you a very real example. When Jimmy Kimmel, a late night talk show host, was forced out, people didn't riot. They did something far more effective. Tens of thousands of people canceled Disney and Hulu subscriptions. And within days, not months, not years, Jimmy Kimmel was reinstated. That's not coincidence. That didn't need a riot. That is leverage. That is what real protest looks like in this time. And here's why it works even better than marches, or definitely better than violence. Because corporations fund political power. Political power protects corporations. Breaking the funding and protection collapses legitimacy, and authority dissolves. Power never collapses under rage. Power collapses under loss of legitimacy. Let's talk about mature protests. Let's talk about that. Because this is where protests becomes mature and effective. Instead of reacting emotionally to every explosion, every headline, every crisis, you redirect energy towards coordinated boycotts, mass subscription cancellations, refusal to fund exploiting systems, economic pressure campaigns, non-participation. And this requires sacrifice. Your convenience will be lost. Your comfort will be disrupted. But that's the price of real change. The other thing is that we should not trade clarity for urgency. When something shocking happens, and it will every day, we have been seeing that every day. We should assume first that it is meant to distract you. Then ask, does this help remove legitimacy? Or does this justify further crackdowns? Does this weaken power? Or does this protect power? And if it doesn't weaken legitimacy, do not feed it. We will not trade clarity for urgency that you create every day. Another type of protest that's effective is to stand up locally for your communities. If there is violence, if there is abuse or illegal activity in your community, document it, report it, stand with victims, protect the vulnerable, local, grounded, and lawful resistance always matters. What does not help is national hysteria that strengthens centralized powers. Now, here's the hard truth most people just don't want to hear. Mass marches feel powerful, but power systems have learned how to absorb them. Economic withdrawal and legitimacy erosion are much harder to absorb for them and their work. Here's what to remember. If your action increases fear, if it escalates chaos, justifies force, it strengthens the regime, period. And if your actions removes money, removes consent, if it removes legitimacy, only then it weakens the regime. And here is the most important thing to remember. Do not argue with hardcore supporters. Arguments feed them. And on social media, when you are provoked, just say, I am disconnecting from this conversation. Then disconnect. See, by disengaging, you remove their power supply. Chaos always requires participation. When a country is put through cruelty like this, the least we can do is sacrifice small conveniences for mature freedom. This is not weakness. This is adulthood. This is civilizational maturity. I'm not asking anyone to be silent. I'm not asking anyone to accept injustice. I'm asking something much harder, actually, to stay human when fear wants us to be an animal, to stay clear when anger wants us to be blind, to stay grounded when chaos wants reaction. This is how civilizations survive the Saturn ages. Sit with this. Don't react. Let it mature inside you. This is how real change begins. Namaste.